Hello, I'm going to be sharing my experience upon returning home last year after being in Villa Velia for the month of July. My biggest worry upon returning home is I didn't want to just start spewing off all these stories to my family and have them either be overwhelmed or like just just not jealous, but just because they weren't there, not as interested in the stories as obviously I was because I experienced them. But I did not have that problem. I remember getting in the car and they said, "So, how was it?" And they were waiting. I think they were waiting for me to spew off these stories, and I kind of just sat there and I was like, I don't know where to begin. And that it was completely different than I expected. I thought I was just gonna be like, we did this and we did this and this and this and this, but I was kind of just overwhelmed and just needed to reflect a little bit. So I did tell them a few stories, and then it was over the next few weeks when I would just be like, oh, I remember this happened, and things were just reminding me of different things. So I think um, when you come home, don't be like freaked out if you don't know where to begin or if you just don't know what to say because you did experience a whole month in a different country and you met all these new people and tried all these new things. It's going to be kind of just you're going to have to take it in when you come back to the US and then be able to share it. At least that's how it was for me. Um, as far as telling stories, I remember in phase two, before we came home, we were informed that we need to remember that our family and friends back home, they still had lives while we were gone. It's not like maybe they did something really cool too. So we need to give them an opportunity and ask them, what did you do while I was gone? Otherwise, it might just seem like I did this, I did this, I did this. And it may seem like we don't care what they were doing while we were gone as well. So I think being aware that their lives still went on while we were gone, they still had lives, is important as well. And ask what they did and see what's new in their lives. Another aspect is I was very sad when I came home. I thought the month went by way too fast, and so I think it's a really good idea to just reach out to the team members that you had while in Brazil, and even your students, because they're also going to be experiencing the same thing. They're going to be kind of sad as well, and so when you reach out to them, they're not going to be like, oh my gosh, I don't want to hear your stories because they're part of those stories. So they're going to be like, oh yeah, I remember this. And I think that really helps you being able to reminisce without that worry of, am I just, am I putting out too many stories? Like, am I making someone feel jealous because they weren't there? So I think being able to reach out to your team members and your students and just sharing pictures, sending them funny pictures that happened during that month. They're gonna be like, oh yeah, and that's a really good way to just kind of remember what happened in Brazil without having to feel sad and just I don't know. That was one thing that really helped me is just staying in contact with my students, and you're going to be talking with them. Also, during phase three, a lot of the assignments are reflective of your experience in phase two, and I feel like that helps a lot because you're able to actually talk about your experience, which is something that I know a lot of us are going to want to do is just reminisce basically because it's an incredible time. So yeah, that's just how I felt basically upon returning home. I know one thing we also talked about was the reverse culture shock, coming back home and missing things that were in Brazil, and I that was definitely something that was not hard, but it was just different for me. I remember in Brazil, in Vila Velha, we were treated almost like celebrities. People would just stand near us when they heard we were speaking English, and they'd want to take pictures with us and hang out with us. And then it was almost like in Brazil, I was Brooke, and then America, I'm just Brooke. So that was one thing that was uh, kind of sad to get back used to, but um, yeah, so just being aware that you have your team as that support system because they were with you in Brazil is, I think, is a huge part. Is you can just reach out to them and say how you're feeling, or even just talk to them about your experiences, and being able to reminisce is a huge thing about just yeah. But yeah, so that's my experience.